Hare Krishna. Well, thank you all for coming today. It was the Sunday program. Herzlich willkommen zu unserem Sonntagsfest. Gibt es jemand, der kein Englisch versteht? Very good, so we speak in English only today. Before we come to the next program, anyone here for the first time? Warm welcome. Thank you for coming. And also we have two newcomers here. Thank you also for coming today. Maybe before we also continue here, you can all come a little closer. So you can see and hear the speaker well. We have now a lecture on the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Before I introduce today's speaker, I'd just like to mention a small point. There was a small mistake on our website about Ekadasi. Ekadasi is a fasting day in our tradition. And even though today is Ekadasi, meaning the 11th day after the new moon, it's not fasting today.
Why are you laughing?
No, I said now you tell us.
Now you tell us.
You're fasting?
We had a big argument over it.
So
we went with you.
Yeah, we are very sorry for that. I guess it's better this way around than the other way around. Fasting is probably always good. We reduce the bodily demands. But yes, tomorrow, for those of you who are already doing some fasting today, you can take prasadam later on. And tomorrow we are fasting. So maybe one day we will send out an information why sometimes the Ekadasi is considered impure and you're not supposed to fast, so that everybody also can understand why we do so. Today's speaker, Jayananda Prabhu, has been sharing his knowledge on yoga since 1994. His first contact with yoga was in 1986, when reading a book ignited a lifelong interest, which soon developed into a daily practice. Since the early 1990s, Jayananda Prabhu has studied in traditional ashrams in India and the West. From early on, Jayananda Prabhu has been combining in his personal practice the use of sacred sound in yoga in all its forms, Swadhyaya, Mantra, Japa and Kirtana. What we just did now, that's called Kirtan, meaning chanting mantras in a congregational manner. With asana and pranayam from the world of Hatha Yoga. Considering his personal daily practice his most important source of inspiration, he has nevertheless combined the more traditional approach to yoga with academic studies in religion, where he holds a PhD from Abo Academy University in Finland. Besides his PhD thesis and academic articles on the sociology of religion, Jayananda Prabhu also runs an academic program for yoga studies and works as a researcher in a 4-year study on the worldviews and values in modern yoga. Jayananda Prabhu has authored the book Inner Yoga and is the co-founder and regular contributor in the yoga magazine Ananda. Yes, Jayananda Prabhu has been in Zurich previously. Actually, we tried to get him regularly, but he just told me some days ago that he's very busy. So we are very grateful that even though you're so busy in your occupation, that you take the trouble to travel to Zurich and share your wisdom with us. Hare Krishna. Let us welcome him by loudly chanting Hare Krishna.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Do they have a Bhagavad Gita like after the song? Yeah, okay. Jaya Rama Jaya Kunjabi Jaya Rama
Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajadanarandana Jaya Vrajadanarandana Jaya 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 Yamunatiranachari Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Yamunatiranachari Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Yamunatiranachari Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Yamunatiranachari Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Ramara Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Ramara Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Jaya Kunjabihari Jaya Kunjabihari Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai. I recite a couple of mantras. They help at least me to get on the correct wavelength, so to speak. Any of the mantras you know, feel free to join. If you don't, then just join while listening. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Swastyastu Vishvasya Kalha Prashiratam Dhyayantu Bhutani Shivam Mitoriyam Manashcha Bhadram Bhajatar Harokshare Aveshyatang Namatiratyahai Tuke Om Namo Bhagavate Narasimhaya Namaste Jaste Jase Radhi Ravi Bhava Vajranaka Vajradansra Karma Ranga Ranga Tamo Graja Graja Om Swaha Abhayam Abhayam Manibhuyishta Om Sram Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, context for this presentation is as follows. From history, really, religion's point of view, something unique starts taking place approximately 3,000, 2,500 years ago, located in what is today called northern India. There arises a very fascinating social movement. Social movements are where people join together around a common cause. They might be upset about something. Something needs to change in the society. And it can often be kind of unorganized. We have a common cause. People go to the streets demonstrating against something or joining forces to bring about the positive change. So this is a common feature of social movements. Loosely, there's some loose common cause, and people can come from very different kinds of backgrounds. But the unique social movement that took place in today's northern India at that time, nearly 3,000 years ago, called Shramana movement, is unique because that built around the idea that religion, with its be a good person in the society, do good deeds, assemble merits, and then have a bright future in the next life, like going to heaven or maybe going to the world of the ancestors, whatever that means. The Shramana movement said, that's not good enough, because that's temporary. If you don't realize who you truly are, if you think, in the name of religion, let me have a good time in this life, let me bring in religion in order to have a good time in the next life as well. So the Shramana idea is that, hey, this is not getting it. Our position, as long as we want to enjoy, we are suffering from ignorance. We don't realize that enjoyment always comes in part of a package which also contains suffering. So consequently, the Shramana movements, their social protest was maybe not so much to turn the whole society upside down, but let's figure out how to find the ultimate answer and solution to all problems for all time to come. Not only by going to heaven and spending there maybe a couple of billions of years, but forever. So the notable Shramana movements which still exist today are Jainism and Buddhism. Now there are other movements which we know of which don't exist anymore, such as Ajivikas and Abhyana school. Also ascetic movements, people who are renouncing the world, trying to live with the bare minimums, spend a lot of time on personal meditation, yoga practice, austerities, and trying to like now or never. You may have heard the story of Buddha's enlightenment. He was not called Buddha back then. He was called Siddhartha Gautama. After enlightenment, Buddha means one who is awakened. But you may have heard the story, like first he encounters in his own like hometown the reality of suffering, decides to seek solution, leaves everything behind, practices yoga, meditation, and achieves advanced levels, but thinks this is not enough. There must be something else. After that he decides, let me practice austerities. And he literally like almost starves to death. That's how far he takes it, like nearly not eating anything for a really long time, and he becomes like almost like just a skeleton, and then he realizes this is not the way either. And then finally he achieves enlightenment, decides to sit down underneath a tree. I'm gonna sit here, either find the ultimate solution to everything, or then I just, leave it all. And then he achieves awakening, and then founds a new religious movement, which is not so new anymore, but back then it was new, so called Buddhism. but this kind of eagerness, like I have to find the solution, it's suppressing feeling that the reality of suffering, reality that our bodies last a limited amount of days, there's best before date for the body, and then there's not only best before but the actual last date, and after that it's finished. And these movements were all about like, let's try to figure out the solution to this problem by leaving it all behind and dedicating all of our time on private practice. So now moving on with the clock of history a little bit, what emerges next is another kind of approach. Hey everyone, yeah, this Shramana approach, it's noble, we can appreciate it, but let's face it, most of us, we still wake up tomorrow morning and we still go to work. Most of us, we are not going to do that. What about us? Is it the case that either you leave everything behind and achieve the ultimate solution, or you participate in the world, be a responsible citizen, contribute to the society, love your family, love your neighbor as yourself, do all that, and still for no use? Does it have to be such a black and white scenario? And then we have this amazing synthesis between these two traditions in Bhagavad Gita, which is telling us it's actually possible to combine both. So it's not that Krishna's kind of main lesson to his student Arjuna, who is thinking famously on the battlefield that if I do my job today like that, as a warrior on the battlefield, but that lesson is for each one of us. If I go to work, it will be stressful for sure. So the stress of the work will prevent me from making spiritual advancement because it's too stressful. So better I leave everything behind, just as the Shramanas do, because that's the model prevalent in the society. Krishna spends the whole 17th chapter of Bhagavad Gita trying to convince Arjuna, you are not getting it. It's not that you make progress in spirituality by first leaving your life behind. You need to figure out how you bring yoga into your life rather than leaving it behind. How to do that is the question. Bhagavad Gita is all about that. But Bhagavad Gita touches all bases when it comes to yoga and spiritual life. And one of the things it does in the 6th chapter is to recognize, but the Shramana model where you actually leave everything and just spend all of your waking hours in seated posture in deep meditation, that works also, not for most people. It has never been the recipe for most people. The Shramana movement was a marginal movement, but a visible marginal movement. People could really see something is going on, but it was not the majority of the people. So here, Krishna is recognizing, that works for some people. Not for most people, but for some people it works. So 6th chapter is the Ashtanga Yoga, the meditation yoga chapter in Bhagavad Gita, which spends most time explaining how it all works. So by the way, there's another later work called Yoga Sutra, which is all about meditative yoga. And some of the central ideas in Yoga Sutra actually come from the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Scholars are in agreement because the same concepts are being used, exactly the same Sanskrit words, such as abhyasa and vairagya and all that, without going into detail. So this is the meditation chapter. If you want to learn the meditative yoga, read the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But in that context, this is the chapter which is dedicated for the full-time ascetics. So consider this. This is the place where Krishna decides to tell the following. And now we are coming to the verses of today. Number 16 and 17. These are the verses I'm going to read from the 6th chapter. I just read the verses and translation, then explain what they mean. So, Natyasnatastu yogosti, Natsaikantamanashnataha, Natsati swapnashilasya, Jagrato navacharjuna, Yuktahara viharasya, Yukta chestasya karmasu, Yukta swapna vabhodasya, Yogo bhavati dukkha. So that was 2 verses. I read the 2 translations and then let's discuss. So, number 16. there is no possibility of one's becoming a yogi, O Arjuna. If one eats too much or eats too little, yeah, it's not a fasting day today. You have to eat something. Sleeps too much or does not sleep enough. I think today, in contemporary society, sleeping too much is like almost like a vanishing concern. Everyone is sleeping too little. Everyone, please sleep more. So that's my message to you. But there's such a thing as sleeping too much, like spending half of the day sleeping. Then, yeah, obviously it's too much. But like anyway, if you are eating too much or too little, sleeping too much or sleeping too little, you get out of balance. So one needs to be balanced, but balanced in resting, balanced in eating, actually turns out balanced in everything. Listen to this next verse, broadens the discussion. So he who is regulated in his habits of eating, sleeping, recreation, and work can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So let's discuss this for a while. Remember, this is the chapter that is dedicated for those people who are only doing yoga alone in the wilderness. Even they have to hear this message. We need to be balanced in our life. So if it's like even for those people who are like they are spending all of their time for private yoga practices, so much so for everyone else, balance is fundamentally important in spirituality. In fact, it's balanced even if you don't care about spirituality at all, because being balanced is a way of being happy. So how to be happy? Krishna is giving a simple formula, but it's very deep. So the 4 categories of activities that are being mentioned in these verses are eating, sleeping, recreation, and work. These 4 items in and of themselves are not yoga. Everyone is doing this. So they can create a platform, and when the platform is created, then you add yoga, and then you can take the step into transcendence. Full-fledged God realization will be explained soon after this. But right now here, what about eating? So I gave a seminar yesterday about how to eat, and I will recap some of the points. So there are basically 3 components you need to take into the consideration when you are figuring out what to eat. Okay. One is nutrition. If you only eat cake, that's not gonna be balanced, because it's good but you don't get your nutrition. So what is healthy? Maybe salad, sprouts, cucumber. So if you only eat like these super healthy but super light ingredients, at least speaking about myself, it takes 2 hours, I will faint because the blood sugar goes down. So actually one needs to combine these 2 aspects. It needs to be nutritious, but it also needs to be light so that you can digest it. Combination of both is a balance. Nutrition needs to be there, but you have to be able to digest it. Now if that is there, then whatever you eat becomes part of you, because you are literally digesting the food and now it becomes you. So for that reason, it is quite important that the quality of the food is by nature such that it nourishes the mind. What kind of food nourishes the mind? That's the question. So that's the 3rd component in yoga diet. It should be non-violent, because if there's always violence involved in cooking, because a living being is giving its life on your plate. So it's a matter of degree. So the less violence means it's more peace of mind when you eat it. But there still is problem of violence, even if you are fully like vegan, raw food diet causing minimal amount of violence is still there because plants are also living beings and they are giving their lives so that you can eat. So is there a way to even go around that, not only minimizing violence, but eating in a way that positively contributes to loving, kindness, compassion, all kinds of good qualities? Turns out, yes, there is. And you have come to the right place. You have.
We have to offer this food to Krishna.
Exactly. It's called prasadam. So bhakti way of preparing food. It should be minimally violent at the outset, but then you cook with love. Like thinking of, I'm not cooking for myself, like just can't wait, like cooking and have to taste every 5 minutes. Oh, is it tasty now? No, cooking with love. Let Krishna, let the Supreme taste it first. Now what happens? Something amazing happens. You cook like that in that mood. So the mood gets transferred into the food in a subtle form. There's so much we don't see with our senses, but some people have actually explored this. What happens if you take, I have a friend who actually made an experiment. You take potatoes, same amount, 10 potatoes, group 1, and another set of 10 potatoes. Group 1 potatoes, you are offer lovingly to God. Group 2, you don't do anything. Guess what? These go bad pretty fast, and these last forever. Not literally forever, but even my friend who is not a scientist and not a bhakti yogi told me that he was trying out such a thing. So that was fascinating. Anyway, so the idea is that there's subtle level of subtle aspect to everything which we don't see, but if we are sensitive, we can feel it. So it's possible to feel a love in the food, which is from the cook, from the person who is offering it, from the one who is serving it, and it becomes part of you. You can develop bhakti just by eating, all the while being balanced. That said, even bhakti yogis need to be balanced in their eating. It's not that if it's bhakti food, then anything goes. Let me have like 1 billion samosas to get started with the meal. You know, that will not work, because then you get, obviously, in this kind of enthusiastic approach, we can appreciate that, but you will still get sick after a while, because the biological system follows its own laws. So Krishna is explaining how to take that into the consideration. Very simple, not too much, not too little. Nutritious has to be digestible, but you also need to like it. And this is perfectly combined when you bring bhakti into your kitchen and then to the altar you make the offering. My dear Lord, please accept this offering, because after that, what is usually taking place, the Supreme blesses the food with his eyes, meaning his blessing with the eyes means it's there after that for you to eat the remnants. In extraordinary cases it disappears. Usually you get the remnants. Yeah?
So you mean it's supposed to be nutritious and delicious?
Yeah. So in the name, you know, so many people are suffering in the name of following a healthy diet, because their food is super healthy and they hate every spoonful they put into their mouth. I mean, it's possible to combine both, you know. It's possible to be healthy and nutritious and you can like it too. That's possible, but if it's only nutritious, only healthy, very light, all that is in place, you get super dose of vitamins. If you don't like it, it's an important component is missing. Do you know why? Our digestion, the processing of the food, depends on our mood. Don't please eat when you are angry. That disturbs the digestion. You have to be happy. Everyone, you must be happy. That doesn't work. How does it come automatically? You're eating something which you like in good company and in a peaceful atmosphere. I mean, that's simple. Aside from the unfortunate situation where you have to run to the job, you are so busy, eat some French fries on the way. So, but it does no. Sometimes you may have to do it out of desperation because you don't have time. But as a regular basis, that's a very bad program. In a peaceful environment, in a nice atmosphere, relishing every spoonful, really loving what you are eating. We are all different. It's not that everyone loves the same kind of food. It can be non-violent, it can be nutritious, but some people like salad and some people like fried pakoras. So probably everyone likes fried pakora. No, but we are actually different. So we have bodily constitutions. Ayurveda is talking about pitta, vata, kapha constitution, then are mixed constitutions. So some people really love sweet things. Then you need to figure out how can I relish the sweet taste without, over consuming white sugar. It's doable. Take a lot of fruits. Rice is a mild, sweet taste. For instance, some people like salty, some like bitter. These are kind of natural. When it should be mild but tasty. If it's very sharp, then it causes agitation in the system as well. Anyway, that's about food. We could talk about it forever, but I suggest after some minutes we actually go and try it out. So before that, let's discuss the other item. So how do you feel if you relish and eat a really good meal? How do you feel afterwards? Sometimes tired. Anyone ever feel tired after a meal? It's known to happen. Sometimes not. Sometimes we just feel, okay, I'm refreshed and energetic and let me now do a lot of work and contribute and whatever. But being tired is natural. I'm not saying in the context of the meal. I'm just saying even to stay alive, when you feel tired, that's a signal you need to rest. That should be taken seriously. So sleep deprivation is not a good idea. You may have heard, the notion is floating out there in the field of yoga and spirituality and meditation, that if I do a lot of spiritual practice, my need for sleep goes down. Has anyone heard that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know how it works. It's a side effect. The problematic interpretation is, by depriving myself from sleep, I will make spiritual advancement. Doesn't work that way. It's a side effect. You should try to sleep more. Please, everyone. Not during the class though. I'm giving, when I give yoga programs, let's say I'm training yoga teachers, that's one of the things I do. Oftentimes I figured out, in the middle of the day we have a lunch break, and after the lunch break nobody can do physical yoga practice. So I decide I'll give the dose of yoga philosophy at that time. And always like half of the people fall asleep. And the first few years I was a little upset, but nowadays I'm thinking that they need that rest. Let them fall asleep. So it is good, but somehow or other we need to take enough rest. So there are we have actually, our nervous system consists of two parts, sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is when we are really active and effective, or if we are encountering danger. It activates immediately. I have to act now. I have to run away because somebody is chasing me with a big, hammer, or trying to steal my money, or maybe I have a deadline in 15 minutes. I really intensely focusing and pulse goes up. We all know that. So it's good that we have sympathetic nervous system because that saves us from danger. By that we accomplish things. But we need the other side as well, which is parasympathetic, which is responsible for rest. Okay? And we can be out of balance both ways. It can be too much just resting, but it can definitely be too much just achieving and stressing out and accomplishing and more, and ambition never takes end. It's called burned out. Literally, the sympathetic nervous system burns out the existing energy until there is nothing left. Unless you do the other thing that Krishna is recommending, take rest on a regular basis. Did you know that a considerable part of different sorts of yoga exercises deal with activating the parasympathetic nervous system. It's not that we are stressed out now, whereas back then nobody knew what stress means. No, we have really old texts which are telling us people are getting distracted now. They are too busy. So it's been there for a long time. People need tools to calm down. So spiritual life is meant to bring those tools. And then while in normal life, okay, you go to sleep and then sleep for a while, is it possible to make that into a spiritual practice? Or is it not? Any views on that? How do you sleep for Krishna? Is that doable or not? That's the question. Yeah?
We can recite the prayer before we sleep, that I sleep now for you, Krishna, that I feel energized again and can do more seva.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you're dedicating your life for serving God, then taking rest is naturally part of the larger constellation. And yes, you can also meditate on that. So, did you know, when you are sleeping, the brain is not off. It's actually processing what took place during the day. You can actually practice bhakti while you are sleeping. Do you know how? You just mentioned one option. There's another one. You can, for instance, read a few pages of Bhagavad Gita before you go to sleep. It will be processed during your sleep. You can listen to a kirtan, or maybe you can participate in a kirtan. All of that will be processed during the night. That's devotional sleeping. Sounds really good. I want to tell you an incident from a great yogi, also a great bhakti yogi, Tirumalai Krishnamacharya. He's sometimes considered the father or grandfather of modern yoga, because if you go to any contemporary yoga class, learning asanas and pranayama, all that, any yoga school, chances are that the main teacher in that school is connected to a teacher who is connected to a teacher who is connected to a Krishnamacharya as his student. A lot of what is going on in the yoga world, not everything, but a lot can be directly traced to him. So this man, who contributed so much for the revival of physical yoga practice, in his heart he was a bhakti yogi. He was devoted to the Supreme, whom he variously called Narayana and Vishnu, but also Krishna. He really liked Krishna. Do you know what his practice was when going to sleep? I will share you now a secret practice. He was meditating. I placed my head on the pillow, and the pillow is like Vishnu's feet. I'm placing my head at the feet of the Lord. And then he was always sleeping peacefully. What is there to worry about, because I have my head at the feet of the Supreme? The person who is, when he's breathing out, is emanating unlimited universes out of his body. That kind of person. So placing my head at his feet, be totally safe. So there are different ways to go about it, but you can really bring in spirituality into your sleep as well. Not by depriving you from rest. You have to take enough rest, but you can spiritualize that by paying attention to what you do right before you go to rest. Okay. Now there's a third item called recreation. I think this is not discussed enough. What's the role of the recreation in spiritual life? So that we may associate recreation, hanging out with friends, going to party, maybe going to a concert or movie late at night. But then you are tired after the recreation. So what kind of recreation is to recreate the energy level? So here's the tip. It should be by nature to be something which supports the parasympathetic nervous system. Anything in a nice and peaceful atmosphere would actually work. Hanging out with friends, taking a walk in nature, that sort of stuff. It's very individual. What works for you is not the same that what works for me. It's called recreation if I actually voluntarily like to do it, you know. If somebody prescribes to me you should recreate by, chanting 8 rounds of a mantra. That's not a recreation for me. I'm not on that level. For somebody it could be. It has to be something that you actually relish. That said, there are a couple of activities, even in Bhakti Yoga, which are by their nature recreational, prominently Kirtana. Anyone ever felt refreshed after Kirtana, singing together with others? So it's a serious spiritual practice, but it's not serious in the sense now, be stiff, everyone, focus on the tip of your nose. And it's not that kind of practice. It's like moving with the music and letting your whole system to participate in the music. All the while you are doing it, you are actually participating in a spiritual practice that is beyond the level of samadhi, using your yoga terminology. You know what is going on when you are singing together the sacred names of the Supreme in Kirtana. What happens is that the sound gets amplified by the participation of everyone. So normally there's a lot of mental resistance, and you have to do a spiritual practice for a long time to get absorbed in it. However, in Kirtan, the effect gets amplified because so many people are doing it at the same time. Because our mind, which we usually tend to think is, it's between these two, between the ears and maybe in the heart, but it's in my system. But mind, the Sanskrit word is manas, actually participates in a whole mental field. According to Sankhya philosophy, there's a whole universal field of manas. Everyone's mind is part of that field and contributes into that field. Have you ever felt in the presence of somebody who is totally peaceful that you calm down as well? Isn't it? And it's not only you calm down because you see the face of the person. It's more subtle than that. Sometimes you can actually even sense the mood of another person without speaking a word. Conversely, if you are in the company of somebody who is really nervous, you get nervous as, it's contagious. And so the same mechanism is taking place in Kirtana. So many people are joining together, glorifying the Supreme together. Whatever is going on in their hearts will be part of you as well. You are amplifying the effect of what the others are doing. They are amplifying what you are doing. It's quite wonderful and it's fun. So it's kind of forced samadhi, if you want to use that word. So now the holy names of the Lord are entering the mind, and you are enjoying it and participating in it and forgetting the time and space and even the fact that maybe you were hungry 5 minutes ago and going just with the flow. But there's something else taking place. This is a brilliant form of recreation because it's not only giving recreation to the psychophysical system. On the spiritual level, it's directly going through all the layers we have in our system and nourishing the soul itself. So there's this parable of somebody has a pet bird, okay? Now the bird is in the cage because otherwise it flies away. So I'm interested in taking care of my pet bird. So every day I'm going and polishing the cage, every day. And after a week, poor bird is dead because I forgot to attend to the needs of the bird. I was just polishing the cage. So same thing here, recreation, if it's only physical, it's like the cage, taking care of the cage and the poor souls inside withers away. So Kirtana is special because it gives recreation to the psychophysical system, but it also directly nourishes the soul. And there's a third thing that it does. The mantras, when they're chanted congregationally, they enter another layer of mind which consists of samskaras. That's the subconscious mind. There's a good reason why it's called subconscious, because it's below. We cannot see it. Sometimes we can sense that. Have you ever felt that in a particular situation you don't really know where it comes from, like a deja vu? I have seen this before. In this situation, in the company of this person, I feel mysteriously fully at home, or I feel really uncomfortable. You don't know where it comes from. It comes from previous experiences. They are recorded in the subconscious mind. It's part of us. It's like an iceberg. The tip of the iceberg is small part, and then like there are tons of ice which we don't see. That's the subconscious mind. That's really what keeps us anchored, that prevents us from making spiritual progress. What is taking place in Kirtana, singing mantras together with others, Kirtana melts the iceberg underneath the surface. That's the most effective means. Otherwise, the melting of the ice starts taking place in normal yoga only when you achieve samadhi, not before that. Note, asana pranayama will not do the trick. It's only on the level of samadhi that yogis without bhakti can start dealing with what is beneath the surface. Singing in kirtan could be the first time in your life you melt more ice than years of samadhi without bhakti. That's how powerful it is. But it's recreation as well. Now there are other forms of recreation which are bhakti type. Sacred narratives. Have you ever released a good book? I think, or a film? So now there are texts which are fully devotional but very entertaining as well. Actually, have you ever thought of this? When Krishna makes his appearance on earth and his activities are recorded, there's a book called Bhagavata Purana. 10th book is all about Krishna's activities on earth. Many of you have heard of those, even read. They are fun, like Krishna is stealing butter, and then he's feeding it to the monkeys, and then the mother gets upset and tries to catch Krishna, and Krishna, catch me if you can, and then he's running away, and then he falls down, and mother catches him and binds him into the mortar, and then he says, now I'm going to show, and then he's crawling away and pulling the big mortar, and some trees are falling, and divine beings are arising because they were previously divine beings, now they got cursed as trees, and then they offer prayers, and Krishna, yes, okay, and then the mother says, mother is coming, don't do that again. You know, that sort of, so this is, Krishna is making yoga an entertainment with everything that he does. Just study what he's doing, it's very entertaining, at the same time it's purifying the heart. That's Krishna's activities in Bhagavata Purana, another great text, Mahabharata, Ramayana. These are like that. They're wonderful stories. They give recreation all the while the heart is getting purified as well. Anyway, everyone needs to somehow or other take care of recreation. It's very personal. Try out what works for you, but you need it. Because the fourth item here, work. I have a real concern. All the other items we don't pay enough attention, and that item we are paying too much attention on. Those of us who actually have a job. I have, and I have this tendency to overwork. One should be balanced in everything. But what is the way of bringing spirituality in the field of work? Okay, here are some items. So figure out what you like to do most of the time. Okay, we have hobbies. Hobby and work is a different thing. But work is something where you get income to sustain yourself and your family and go on with the life. But within the vast field of work, it is a real fact. We have training, we have education, we have proclivity for certain things and not for everything. For each his own or her own. So try to figure out what is suitable for you so that most days give something which you find, okay, this is an interesting and rewarding challenge. It's only that I'm going to work in order to earn money. There were studies have been done that unemployment actually tends to be bad for mental health if it goes for a long time. Everyone has a need to work, okay, to contribute. But now there are other studies which tend to show that there's one thing which is worse than unemployment, which is you are all the time working with something which you hate to do. There's no such salary which is sufficient to compensate for the fact that you don't feel at home at all. I mean, work by its nature is not always fun. That's why it's called work, by the way. But there should be some correlation between what you do and what you are actually inclined to do. That's it. It's a vast field. I won't speak more about that. But regulation means not only that, finding your mission in life, but also regulating, not too much, not too little. I have noticed if I work too much, I get exhausted. But I also noted sometimes I try out like really toning it down and having a period where I barely work at all, a little bit every day. I start getting frustrated and anxious and nervous. Hey, I have this energy and I need to do something with it. That's me. Everyone is different, but you need to figure out the right balance between work and rest. The kind of work, how do you spiritualize it if you find what you like to do? So there are a couple of ways. One way of spiritualizing the work, Bhagavad Gita has a lot to say about that. One very simple but powerful way is by making a sankalpa. Whatever I do, I'm doing it because somehow or other I'm placed in this situation now, and it's not in my hands. The Supreme has placed in this situation. Let me now do my best to fulfill my role in the world for the pleasure of the Supreme. Like that, just 1 minute mini meditation, then you go and do whatever it is you do. So then there's another way of spiritualizing that, which is after the work. Because when the work is over, there's some remuneration, usually in the form of salary. You can actually spiritualize that as well by investing some of it for a good cause, or making an offering. Maybe you can do a puja at home, have an altar, make an offering, buy some ingredients. So now part of your salary becomes a spiritual offering at your home or at the temple, or a combination of both. Finally, there's a third way of spiritualizing work. So I mentioned what you can mentally prepare before you act, and now what you can do after. But how about while you are doing it? Our mind is wonderful. It can simultaneously focus on something, but also in the background be aware of what is going on and observe itself. Even in demanding circumstances, it's possible to have this kind of meditation. Actually, the Supreme is driving my chariot. There is a parable of chariot in the Katha Upanishad, where there's a passenger in a chariot and there are horses and like that. Now Krishna is relating to it in the end of the 18th chapter. He's saying Isvaram Sarvabhutanam Riddhesersuna Tissati. The Supreme Lord is in the heart of everyone and driving that person around. We cannot accomplish anything without the blessing, without the sanction of the Supreme. So, less known bhakti yogi, Mahatma Gandhi, he's known for other things, but his bhakti side is less known. He used to say many, many times, not even a blade of grass moves without the sanction of God. So, meaning our hand does not move, we cannot speak, we cannot eat, we cannot accomplish our work. So, while you are doing your work, if you keep this meditation in it that, hey, I can get some extra backup help from within. Just being aware, you are getting it anyway, but by being aware of it, then whatever you do actually becomes bhakti, devotional meditation as well. So consider these 4 things and your life will be transformed. That's it.
Thank you so much, Jayananda Prabhu. Very pragmatic advice you're giving us. Maybe we have one question, if anyone would like to ask something. It was very clear class.
Hare Krishna. I just can't hold myself back from asking this question again and again. Please tell me, what is your opinion on consuming cow milk's products which are not ahimsa?
So you have asked this already 1,000 times?
Yeah, and every time I get another answer, and
So that's a real challenge now, because if I repeat something, then that would be boring for you.
no.
So people are in different places in their lives and in their spiritual understanding, and they, as far as I can see, and within the broader context of Bhagavad Gita and the whole Vedic textual framework, it's not that there's the same recommendation and same instruction for everyone. The fundamentally important component in everything that we do in spiritual life is inspiration. So if I give you an instruction and you cannot relate to that, then that might be the brilliant instruction for me and 1,000 other people, but not for you. And for that very reason, actually, the bhakti morality is broad. I will give you an example. It's related to the story of Aswathama in the first book of Bhagavatam. Because Aswathama kills some innocent people, and then he's captured, and then there's a group of people. Krishna is part of the constellation. Some are saying he should be punished, he should be killed because he has killed. And others are pleading for mercy for him. No, he should be saved because his mother is still alive. Think about the mother. She will suffer. Her only son will be dead if you kill him. Like that. The whole conversation, this is taking place thousands of years ago on the battlefield actually, so it's an intense situation. So actually the outcome is finally all of those people have a point, but they have different opinions. The final solution is somehow to find a solution which combines both perspectives. My point is not always that there is one perspective which is beyond all other perspectives. My point is that there you have a group of people, all of them are saintly persons. Krishna is their God, one who knows everything, and still they have various perspectives to a moral issue. So I would say in this particular question I can understand both sides of the equation, because one side is, okay, cow milk is sacred and that can be offered and blessed, and by offering it to Krishna, then that's the ultimate purpose of milk in the first place. So that's one perspective. The other perspective is cows are very dear to Krishna, and it's horrible that they have to suffer the way they are treated. So based on these two perspectives, I think it's a matter of, it's anyway, people will do anyway what they want to do. But then I think they should at least apply a devotional perspective, be inspired by that, and don't get into these endless arguments. You will not be able to change somebody else's heart in this regard. Best thing is everyone is kind of somehow trying to bring in spirituality in their life wherever they are, and then take it from there. That's ultimately the ultimate solution anyway. Because if you're not inspired by your solution, it will not work for you. You will grudgingly do what you don't actually want to do. That's my take on it. Hare Rama.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Jayananda Prabhu, again for this very insightful class, and let's hope that we can put it into practice. We all eat, we all sleep, we all work, and we all recreate, hopefully, so we can put it into practice. Now you are invited to you have a question, right? Maybe if you have a question to Prabhu, you could just ask him personally after we finish the program, because we have now the next program point coming up. We're gonna serve prasadam, food which has been offered to the Lord. And before that, I would just like to make an announcement. In not next week, but the week after, meaning tomorrow in a week, we have His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj arriving. So it's actually a nice bridge to the question. He's also very concerned about cows, and not only that, but he's concerned about the devotee community, and he will stay with us for 1 week and give various lectures and programs. And Maharaj is traveling all over the world trying to inspire devotees to live a more simple lifestyle, connected to the land and to the cows, and in this way get a nice setting for practicing Krishna consciousness. You can find the program outside. When you go out on the left-hand side, there's a vitrine. You see a poster, and there you can find the whole program. But I would especially like to mention there is 2 programs which are unique. One being on Wednesday, there is an excursion to St. Gallen, where there is a very old library. It's a UNESCO monastery library, and Maharaj is going there with a few devotees, and there's still space, so if you like to join, you can find the information also on the poster. And then the next program, which is special, is on Thursday, where Maharaj will be going to the Flüeli Ranft. The Flüeli Ranft is the place where the probably most prominent Swiss saint has lived. He was born and raised there, he lived there, and he also was, we can say, in Samadhi there for many, many years. And the specialty about this program is that one devotee, Atmatata Prabhu, who is a very popular and famous author of books which are mainly read outside of the devotee community as well, he found one very interesting description of this Bruder Klaus, this saint, where he speaks about the divine vision he had. And Bruder Klaus, he lived exactly at the same time like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he describes something which is very astonishingly much connected to Chaitanya Nityananda. And he will be there also, and he will give a talk, and he will show us the place. So if you like to join the program, please, you can approach me, or you can find the contact details outside. Hare Krishna. Thank you again. Then 6:15 will be a japa meditation. You can learn to chant on prayer beats, especially for those of you who are here for the first time. You can do this at home, and something you can do anytime, everywhere. Gopurnim, thank you. Sorry. Speak about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Bruder Klaus's divine vision. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he has appeared around 500 years ago, and on Thursday we will be celebrating Gopurnim, the appearance day of Mahaprabhu, here in this temple. The program will start at 4 o'clock, and if you want to see the detailed program, also outside in the vitrine, please come. It will be a wonderful festival, and hope to see you there. Now you can all get up if you like to, and we can put the pillows in the corner, and then we'll set it up for the serving of the prasadam. His Grace Jayananda Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai.
The austerity we have to do in Bhakti Yoga next quarter, after the years you passed on. So if you want to be now the vegetarian, it's here. Because you sit in rows and you come and do something. You still have some time to eat.